Hello YouTube, my name is Paul. I hope you're all keeping well. I'm back today then with a video that's slightly different to the norm. You know I like my games. I usually like the music within the games. I also like the artwork of the games. I also quite like some of the old adverts. And the other day I was flicking through an old Sinclair user and come across a few adverts that I quite enjoyed back in the day. But not only that, they were quite controversial. Bearing in mind I was only a 13-14-year-old lad myself. So yeah. So I'm going to share some of those with you today. Probably do my top 5, to be honest. I might have one or two more to add into that, but we'll see how we go. Most of you in the UK know of the Sun newspaper anyway. For those of you who don't, it's a newspaper that used to sell about 3 or 4 million copies every single day, and on page 3 you'd have a topless glamour model. That carried on for quite a number of years, up until quite recently, to be honest. But yeah. So yeah, the paper itself was very popular, and some of those glamour models were used to entice us youngsters back in the day to buy some of those games. So the one in front of me at the minute is Maria Whittaker, lying there on the floor. Well, not quite lying there, but it's sort of sat there on the floor, the legs out, not out like you think, with yeah, a guy called, what was his bloody name, Wolf, who starred in our version of the Gladiators. Is it Gladiators or Gladiators here in the UK? And he held his mighty sword aloft, so lots of innuendo in that one. But Maria Whittaker was one of my favourite glamour girls back in the day, even though I was a little youngster. But anyway, enough of that. Another game would have been Vixen, used another page 3 model. Is her name Corrine Russell? I can't remember if it's Corrine Russell, but there she is. She sort of stood there, wearing leopard skin bikini of sorts. Looks a bit like Tarzan's Jane, that kind of effect. But again, quite provocative. Another real life person they used was the woman who done the advertising for Elvira. Again, I'm not really sure what that game is all about, so I never played it, to be honest, but another quite provocative image for my fragile little mind to take in. And the last one using human beings, as opposed to just doing illustrations, was an advert for a game called Psycho UXB, or Psycho Pigs UXB. Now this lady is literally lying across, well, I don't know what she's lying across, just the floor, white floor, wearing lingerie. A couple of young teenagers looking up at her. And I always remember the captions, it made me flipping die back in the day. I know which one I'd rather play with. But have you seen the reviews for Psycho Pigs UXB? Who flipping cares about the game? The game itself is quite poor, but the advert is probably one of my favourite adverts ever. But there are some illustrations. Like I said, I'll try and go through 5, but there's clearly more than 5 here. So one of the illustrations was done by the late Bob Wakelin, Where Time Stood Still. And there was a bit of a thing with nipples back in the day. Yeah, so I guess to entice us youngsters to go and buy the games. But again, if you kind of have a, sounds a bit pervy, a bit of a close-up view, there's a lady standing next to a pilot, back in the sort of prehistoric era, looking all busty and all. But yeah, lovely piece of art, and it, yeah, it's quite provocative. But probably one of the most famous ones was for a game called Game Over. The artist, I think it was a Spanish artist, I can't remember his name, but he did that image for something previously before Game Over, so it wasn't just used for Game Over, it's used for something else. But again, it caused a lot of controversy, but it boosted the sales of Your Sinclair magazine, and the magazine that had that poster in it, I think it was the second highest selling Your Sinclair magazine of all time. I wonder why. But I think the cover art also used that lady, or that drawing of a lady with her nipple, the famous nipple, until they were told not to, and then obviously then they started having screenshots replacing what you could see. And in some case, I think Oliver Frey was it. I think he redrew the image, but had some kind of armour plating covering her breasts. So that was different, and that was probably the most controversial one. But one of them, which never gets mentioned, which is my personal favourite, is absolutely friggin' outrageous. It's for a game called Ranks. Ranks. There he is, dirty little git. His finger is somewhere where his finger should not be, especially in the eyes of a 13, 14-year-old lad. I think I was a little bit older for this one, so I think it's a 16-bit game, so it would have been about 15. But anyway, my God. So he's from a graphic novel called Rank Xerox, which is an Italian, or drawn by 2 Italians, or created by 2 Italians. I can't imagine it done particularly well with a name like Rank Xerox, but yeah, he's a flipping beast. But yeah, that's got to be my favourite Probably the most controversial of all the images there, to be honest with you. But yeah, like I said, it's very sexist, you know what I mean, and aimed at young kids, especially like back then, was kind of outrageous anyway, wasn't it? But they've got to be some of the most memorable game adverts out there. If you can think of any that I've missed, please let me know. But I tried to go for 5, but it's clearly slightly more than 5 there. But yeah, thank you very much for watching, thank you for subscribing, and I hope you enjoyed the video. Take care, bye for now.